What's happening, people? So today I will be talking about how I started a plumbing business in the UK. If you're interested in starting a plumbing business, this is a video you definitely want to look out for. So first things first, what you need to do is get your business registered, yeah? So you need to have a name before you even think about registering it. And you can register a business on Companies House. It is a cost. I can't remember how much it is off the top of my head, but registering your business and understanding if you want to be a limited company or you're going to be a sole trader. Mr. London Plumber is a limited company, right? So you can register for your VAT where you register your company, right? So the next thing you're going to need to do, and the next thing I needed to do at the point, was after I've registered the business, I've got the certificate, so you have your own number for the company, right? And I know that unique number. That's important. So the next thing I knew I needed to do was get public liability insurance. And I'm going to say all of this because I've been a sole trader before this. I was a limited company. So I knew the things what you needed to have for each one. So me working for other people, subcontracting and doing something which would be very, very valuable to myself later down this story. So I'm going to show you now because it makes perfect sense. So I brought out my paperwork for this one. I did. So, right. As a sole trader, yeah, I was subcontracting for companies. I can't show you the company's paperwork because that's just out of order. But subcontracting for companies, and I had to write a invoice when I was on site. So they gave you paper. This was in 2018. Excuse the time. Yes, they gave you paper. You was told to write out the price of the job. I can't show it too much because someone might identify whose paperwork it is, but showed you your description, which is your job, what you done, how much it was, your name's on the top of that bit of the paperwork. It's got the company name at the top. You've got your client's address, and through this format, you can kind of work out what you need to do. It says materials, labor, subcontractor, VAT, balance, part payment. So if they paid part of the payment, right? And then you would sign it and your customer would sign it, and then you would do a card payment, or it's an account payment, or it's cash, right? Was it really cash? Anyway, understanding how to do a invoice like that, yeah, as a sole trader allowed you to understand what you need to do as well as a limited company, right? Same process goes when you're doing a invoice for someone. So at this point now, we're going to jump back to the insurance, right? So me being a sole trader, I had insurance previously because I had subcontracted for not just this company, I've done it with a few companies because I wanted to build up skill, but I wanted to understand what it was really going to be like for me to be going into these properties. So why not piggy bank off another company and in the end, try and get some of their customers, because if you do a good job, I'll just give them my number. Anyway, it's building my company, but that's another thing we're going to talk about. So we've now in place to look at the insurance. We need public liability insurance when we're in people's properties, and indemnity insurance sometimes as well. So normally it's public liability insurance. Roughly it ranges from, like, most people got like 10 million or something like that. It doesn't mean that they're balling or anything. It just means that the insurance will cover up to this amount of damage. Simple. Most people never actually get to speak to their public liability insurance people, and you will pay more if you're doing soldering. Just remember that. So I always said I was never doing soldering, so everything was going to be done in either push fit or else I was just going to do it in compression. Save yourself some money. Think about these things. They add on significant amount of money when it comes to something like that. So now you guys are thinking, oh, you got a nice top logo there. Yeah, that's right. My cousin is a graphics designer. And I am blessed to have a cousin is a graphics designer, because he was able to come up with this logo, the logo which you see me plastered with all the time. So branding and marketing, yeah, I wanted to look at from a different perspective, because I wanted my logo to be able to represent my brand, which is Mr. London Plumber, with the London Plumber skyline. You've never seen anyone with branding like this, which is so it makes sense, right? So I'm from London, I'm a plumber. This makes sense. Mr. is a man, that's me. So, you know, we put two together and we end up with 4. You understand? That's great. I love the way we are on track. So we've now got our branding sorted, which is this logo came through. I said, I need this on a t-shirt. I gotta get this on a t-shirt. And I think this is some of my first, or some of the t-shirts which I got really, really early. Image to Go, I can say that company, because they actually make these t-shirts just for anybody. So I think I got, what did I get here? I got 2 t-shirts done here, and that ran me up to £38 for 2 t-shirts. So yeah, I always keep these types of things, because these things, I was all paying for them out of my own pocket. So little bit of profit, little bit of paying back into the company, little bit of profit, paying back into the company. I needed to have a good representation of myself when I was out there working with customers, showing that I've got my own company top on. Oh, so this person must have their own company. Oh, so maybe if I talk to them at the end of the job, I might be able to swing them and drop them my details. That was my main thing to do when I first started. So just trying to grow and get some recognition for what I'm doing before I really get set up properly. And that takes me to my next point. Working for subcontractors like this, yeah, when I showed you that invoice, yeah, so I'm going to tell you a job which I did. So it was in Islington in 2018, it was. So what I'd done was isolated the toilet, and they had a problem with the close coupling which sat in between it, whether it was leaking or something. I think it was leaking. Yeah, it does say leaking. So when I realized that company was able to charge someone £222, and I was only getting like 40% of that money, I thought to myself, what the hell are they doing? They're getting me the jobs. That's what they're doing. Let's be honest, innit? At the time, if you're not able to get the jobs, you do the jobs for other people. So I thought, I'm always busy, still working. People see me as active. Maybe 1 or 2 customers will come my way. That's fine, because I'll be able to make the full amount of money with them. But I realized, obviously, a little bit before, there's a lot of money in this. You can make money in this, right? But you need to have a little plan. So I needed to know what people were being charged in what type of areas. So doing the subcontracting for different companies allowed me to see that, because your prices to what you would want and what the prices, what other people are giving out there, they need to be competitive. So that brings you on to planning your price list. So your price list will be, let's say I install taps. How much is it going to cost for me to repair a leak? How much is it going to cost me? And you just give a general price. So it's between this price and between that price. It obviously depends on the circumstances, the type of pipe work it is, all types of things like that. You know, like if you've got a pinhole leak or a leak on like a lead bit of pipe, it's going to cost you a little bit more than it would do with something what's going to be copper. And you might have to take your time as well, because that lead pipe is very fragile. Again, I know these things because working in central London and working in London, I've come across, just like, sometimes I felt like I just come across nothing but problems, but sometimes that's part of the job. And me getting better at it was being able to fix all these problems, because anytime I worked for these subcontractor companies, I made sure that I had 100% on every job completion. So therefore I could say that with my own company, because I know I'm going to complete every single job to completion. So we get just a good thumbs up from everybody, because that's what all I wanted, innit? So you've worked out your price plan because you've went through all of the types of works, what you can do, if you can charge people to unblock a toilet, which I do believe at that present time, yeah, unblocking, like this is 2018, unblocking toilets was coming up to about 120 quid. I mean, I was killing it off of it. 2016, 2017, I mean, driving around with the plunger in the car, jumping out. I was actually doing a lot of people who were, what's that thing called when you can rent them homes? It's called, it was a lot of like rental properties which were being rented out in West End. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a certain company, and they would have people over. Someone would block the toilet. They would need someone to come and clear it quickly. So I would attend within the hour, and it would be 120 pounds to unblock the toilet. Again, you know, most unblocking toilets with rods will take you generally no longer than 3 minutes. You know, my average was about a minute. That's it. It's gonna go. I know it's gonna go. It's just people was very embarrassed by having the toilet unblocked, which is understandable. I think it's a human thing, isn't it? If someone blocks up a toilet, they don't want to say it was them, or they just want to get it sorted. So that's why they're willing to pay that money really quickly. And that sparked another little like, that's something you can do as well, you know, because it's a very easy service. It's convenient. You're in, you're out, you make people pay. That's it. That's cool. Boom, putting that one down on my list of what to do. And at this point, I knew that I had to write an extensive business plan. The business plan, yeah, had to involve my business, what I'm going to do, and what we're going to achieve from it, right? So I sat down before and wrote this at the beginning, right? Because I used to work with one of my friends. We used to sit in the car when we was at work and say like, you know what, I need to get out of this work thing. I need to start doing my own thing. But it's just so much stress, and where do you start? And no one's telling you what to do. So that's why making this video for me is so like the look on my face, because I'm telling you about personal things, what happened to me. Like every single step of this way, I didn't ask the money for my mum, my dad, my uncle, anyone else but me. Just putting in my own wages from working a 9-to-5 plumbing job, and then saying to myself, you know what, from that money, I'm going to put in a portion of £300. I've got £300 this month. Let's put it into that. What do I need to do? Paying for registration of the company costs this. This amount of money will go to the insurance, and I might save £50 in a pot for something else, materials or something, right? But I'm going to get to all of that because we're working down the list. So now you've been able to write yourself a business plan. In your business plan, you might want to add who your company targets. Like, who's your company targeted to? Is your company targeted to people that live in a certain area? So now I'm whittling down with the information which I know from working for subcontractors. What are the best areas to be working in? What are the best? Because I'm seeing the jobs. I know how much people are paying in those areas, and those are the areas I want to be in. So I've added that into my business plan. It's worked a treat because I know the going rate in this area is this amount of money. It's not anything less. I don't have to compete with anything else. So now I'm at my 5th point, yeah? So this is why I say to you, look, take note. So at the 5th point, yeah, you're going to start trying to find customers. Where the hell do you find them from? I know. The plan keeps on giving. It's a plan which keeps on giving. So I've already worked in a few people's properties. A few people did say, could I get your number? I said, yeah, sure. This is my number. I'd made sure at that point I'd already had a business card. So them times was 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. So when I was working up to that subcontracting company. So I'd already had a business card. I was already giving it out, had one dedicated number for that. I realized that had to be separate from my own phone line because I don't want people to be calling my personal phone, asking me about plumbing jobs at all times. I want to have a separate phone so I know when that phone rings, hello, business. How's it going? Yeah, I'm just looking for Mr. London Plumber. Yes, that's me. How can we help? And I was just practicing every person, talking to them like as if I knew how the office was speaking to them, because I'd been present in the office a few times. Um, some of the companies what I used to work for, they used to have some nice, decent offices in Westbourne Park. Learned a few things by hanging around the office and just like watching them when they're talking to customers, when they get customers come in and stuff like that. So knowing the relative questions to be able to ask people, whereabouts are you based? What's the problem? But now I do things which are one step further. Like when customers call me, I'm able to say to them, look, is it possible for you to send me a picture or a video on WhatsApp? And me, I'm a video picture person, so I can work things out quite quickly, whether it might be a problem or how something is put together, or just have a better idea at what it is, what they're talking about, because everyone isn't the best at explaining stuff. And you have to be patient as a tradesperson, because again, you might be dealing with an elderly person or an older person. So therefore, their understanding of this or that, it's not the same, you know, so you've got to have a little bit of understanding when it comes to that. So that allowed me to work on my customer service skills, or my customer skills when it works with people. So being also very polite. So that's just how I am in general, is a polite person, you know. I've got no reason to be rude to anybody. So being polite, making sure people had a good experience, asking them at that present time then, is it possible for you to write a review on my business Google page? Great. Went in, wrote a review. And that's when I realized at that point now, we're at our number 6 now. So this plan is never stopping, because you ain't even really started doing jobs now, like you need to. But I'm getting some done. So that's great. And at this point now, you need to make sure you have the correct tools. The correct tools for the job and the equipment will stop you from doing bigger jobs and only allow you to do certain jobs, right? So if you don't have the right type of drills, if you don't have the right type of lighting, what you need to complete a job, because you haven't invested in the right type of equipment, that is something which you have to grow and do. Equipment is definitely something you constantly keep on buying as a plumber. You know, inspection cameras, I might buy a new Sunny Snake, I might buy a new light like this. I'm not going to buy a new light, I love that light, but if I needed a bigger light, I would buy one. Drills and stuff like that is a very key part to my work. Gas bottles and stuff like that, these things cost. But also, when you've got the equipment, you need a supplier. You need a supplier. Having a proper supplier will allow you to enable work to carry on going, right? It doesn't stop your flow of work when you've got a good supplier. What I ended up doing when I first started, I was going to like Screw Fixes, every other place. I mean, I've been to so many of them. I was in Shepherd's Bush one. I was in all of the ones around West London. Then trying to find local small plumbing shops was very hard as well. But I did find one, I think it's in Latimer Road, if I'm not, Goswell Plumbing. That's the one I used to use a lot. Very good plumbing shop when it comes to parts, when it comes to shower mixer valves, especially siphons. Wow, if you've been in there yourself, it's supposed to be one of the oldest plumbing shops in London. So I went there and I used to get stuff from there. They used to have a big stock in there. So making sure that I had the guys' numbers, creating an account was necessary. And that allowed me to build. And that was the whole point, building on what I needed. And that was the core foundations of those types of things. So I do want to say that there's a lot of stages what goes into it, but it's definitely worth it as a process. But what you've got to do is you've got to build at every step of the way. Like I told you, I was still working for other people, still getting the experience, still understanding what it's like for me to operate at this level. But eventually I would be on a higher level and actually possibly giving the jobs out to people at some point. So I needed to understand where everything goes and how to operate the business. And that's how I started a plumbing business. And I called the business, obviously, Mr. London Plumber. So what I would like you guys to do now is I would like you to like this post, because it took a long time to make. And it took a lot of thinking for me to understand all of the steps. But I want more people to understand that it's not easy, but I was never deterred because I was determined on having a business. And starting my business is one of the best things I've ever done for myself. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on another one of these lives. It's Mr. London Plumber. Make sure you subscribe. Subs are going up, lives are going up. Let's get it.